Hi everybody, I am finally back on the channel. And what a hectic few weeks it has been. So I am going to do a video for you guys today, as you've probably already guessed by the thumbnail. But I just want to catch up with you guys and let you know what's been happening and why I have actually been out for so long. So first, let me thank everybody who's still here and people who are still continuing to subscribe to the channel. It means the absolute world to me. You've got no idea how good it is to see that some of you are still here and checking in on me and asking how I'm going and asking how Mr. Louis is. So thank you guys so much for that. It really does mean a lot. And thank you to all my new subscribers that have jumped on while I've had my few weeks off. It means a lot that you guys have jumped on and you've started to watch. And I'm going to try and be back more regularly now. But the last few weeks have been absolutely hectic. So, as most of you know, I had big problems with my cat. With Mr. Louis, you've seen him here on the channel a few times. He actually came down with cat flu and we're not sure how he got it. We were in between immunisations, so he hadn't had a chance to be immunised for this year yet. But we don't have any other cats here. We don't have any close neighbours with a cat, so we're not very sure how he managed to contract cat flu. The vet did explain we could have brought it in on our shoes maybe, because there was a big outbreak in the next town over of cat flu, and my friend actually had issues with her little kittens as well. So he came down with the cat flu. Now, I tried really hard not to panic, because back in the day, it was widely known if your cat came down with cat flu, they were probably not going to make it. So the minute I realised that he wasn't just sneezing because he'd bumped his nose or because I'd been cleaning, we got him straight to the vet. The vet put him on antibiotics straight away. We didn't mess around. And when we got him home from the vet, he'd been given a shot and he'd been given a couple of other things to make him feel better, and he was straight into his food he was eating. And we thought, great, maybe this is just, we can just get him through this and it'll be fine. It wasn't fine for a little while. After the shots that the vet gave him wore off, he started to get very sick again and he wouldn't eat. So that raised another set of problems for us, because just a pro tip, if you're a cat owner or you're thinking of becoming a cat owner and your kitty does get sick, make sure that you can get some kind of food into them. Because if you don't, if a cat doesn't eat within 48 hours, it can be fatal to them because it messes with their liver. And it brings on a condition called hepatic lipidosis, which is what we didn't want to happen with Louis. What that means is the body starts pulling on its fat stores that it has saved up from before your pet gets sick. But the problem with that is it's kind of too much all at once for their little livers to handle, and it can actually be fatal to your cat. So we had to try and figure out a way to get food into him because he just didn't want to eat. And that took a huge toll on my husband and I both. We had to puree his food. We had to put water with it so that he was getting water, so that he wouldn't dehydrate. And we had to feed him with a syringe. And it was a horrible experience for all of us. He really didn't enjoy it. I don't think the food could have tasted that great, but we got his antibiotics into him. We kept the food coming. And within about a week, he was back to eating on his own. And he was looking like he was starting to get better. We finished the antibiotics and he has had a few secondary little problems. We've had to get him probiotics. We've had to get him something to actually heal his liver because he did sustain a small amount of damage that can be reversed. And we're starting to see him making progress with that now. He's putting his weight back on. He lost a scary amount of weight while he was sick. So there was a lot of sleepless nights. There was a lot of fatigue. I still had to get up and try and go to work. During this, I was lucky that my husband was actually on holidays, so I wasn't actually leaving Louis alone when I had to go into work. My husband was here to take care of him, but it was very stressful. And a lot of you probably don't know this, but we haven't had children in our life, so our pets are like our children, and it was just like having a sick child for us. So it was very, very stressful. I had nights I was just awake all night crying because I wasn't sure he was going to make it. There were nights I didn't want to go to sleep in case something happened while I was asleep. So I had about a week I didn't sleep. And then when he started to get better and he was eating and things were looking better, that's when I finally slept. And I think I had about 2 days I just slept. So after that, there was a lot of catch up to do around the house and with other things. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, I have a new job now. I'm working for my friends Pam and Kane Van Chaos at their gallery. So the gallery is actually situated at the Emporium where I was working before. The job I'd spoken about before on this channel actually came to an end because the owner that took over the shop while I was working there decided that she wanted to go and do something else, that it wasn't for her, so we had to close for a while. We are looking at reopening, so when that happens with new owners, well, not really owners, it's going to be a cooperative type of a thing, but I'll let you know more about that getting closer to opening date. So I was left at a bit of a loose end for a job. So my friends Pam and Kane Van Chaos asked if I would like to come on board as their intern and work for them at their gallery, which has meant a lot of hard work in the last few weeks, and that's where I was going to work while Mr. Louis was ill. So I've been working for them, and we've had a lot of events come up over the last few weeks. So it was all hands on deck for the last couple of weeks for the KVC Creations Gallery. We did an art exhibition for my mother, who was also an artist. We were getting a new exhibition ready for a friend of ours who's also an artist. And we also were doing a lot of prep work for our very first ever underground art event called Art After Dark. And that was absolutely amazing. But we had like 2 weeks where we were just all hands on deck. There were long hours. There was working bees with beer and pizza, which was a lot of fun. And we had a lot of very long hours, so I just did not have time to sit down and make a video for you guys. Needless to say, the Art After Dark event went off without a hitch, and what that involves is a candlelight concert. And if you've watched the other channel I'm involved with, the Original Sound Lounge, you'll see we've got a couple of candlelight concerts on there that we've put on. So the Original Sound Lounge has come on board with us at KVC Creations Gallery. And what happens at an Art After Dark event is we have fairy lights lit, we have a beautiful concert hall with fairy lights and candles, we have 3 Original Sound Lounge artists who perform music on the night, we also have a live artist doing a painting or whatever else. And for this event, for our first one, that was me. I actually got to sit there and paint a picture while people watched, while our other friend Amy that comes to play for us at Brushgrove, who is an amazing pianist and is from Taiwan originally, she came in, she was playing beautiful classical piano while I was painting, and we did that in the intermissions so that people would still have something to look at. The concert was going on in 2 parts, so we had a 2-part concert, which I have managed to film some of, and that will be popping up on the Original Sound Lounge channel soon, so stay tuned for that. So because I also work for the gallery and for the Original Sound Lounge, there was a lot of work that I had to do as their intern, a lot of running around, a lot of helping out, which was so much fun, and I enjoyed so very much. And you also get to come in and you can shop at the KVC Gallery for jewellery or whatever, or one of my jackets, which is also on sale there. And it was just a really terrific event. But I have just had no time to stop and think about making a video for the last month or so, or however long it is since I've been gone, and I do apologise for that, but I'm going to try and regulate things a little bit more now that we've got everything in place for our next After Dark, and it'll run a little bit smoothly next time. It's always a lot of prep before you start something, so now we've got all that initial prep underway, it'll be a lot easier for the next one, which will be happening on, I believe it's August 4. So stay tuned for that, and I will promote it here on the channel. So I've also been learning music while I've been gone. I'm learning how to play guitar. I have been playing a little bit at the Brushgrove open mics, and if you want to see me goofing around and trying to play guitar, you can head on over to the Original Sound Lounge channel, where all of our open mic nights are as well. So I've been incredibly busy. There's been a few other events I've been involved with. So yeah, and the only reason I have time to sit and make a video and chat with you guys today is we're having a rain event in northeast New South Wales at the moment. A few months ago we had a huge landslip out on the road where we usually drive out of. There's a big hole in the road. It's still there. They just started to repair it, and then we got another big rain event. So we have actually been using a track through cane fields to get in and out to the highway. Yesterday all the drains filled up and the road got cut. It's still very wet and messy down there today. So I'm kind of in lockdown for a couple of days. So I was like, yes, what better time for me to come back, say hi and make you guys a video. So while I will be continuing to do a little bit of real crime, missing persons and all the other things you're used to me doing, I'm going to ease back into that because I did need the break from real crime. You see us sit on here and we talk about these things, we report on them, whatever, but it does affect you after a while. So I really did need a little break from it anyway. So we're going to ease on back in today with this video. So today we're going to have some fun and explore some ghostly tales and folklore from the home countries where my ancestors and my dad's side of the family hail from, Scotland and Ireland, and my mother's side of the family originally also hails from Ireland. So I have a lot of Celtic blood running through my veins. I have a lot of Scotch-Irish history. And Dad used to tell me some terrific scary stories from over there, as you've probably heard me mention before. So I thought it might be fun if we just relaxed today. You guys can grab yourself a drink or a snack, grab a blanket if you happen to be still where it's cold. We're coming into spring pretty soon here in Australia, and we have had a massively cold winter this year. It's actually snowed fairly close to where I live. So it's been kind of fun, actually. I've never got to really rug up heaps for winter before. So we've been able to do that this year. I know you guys in the Northern Hemisphere are really looking forward to autumn, and I can totally vibe with that. I'm actually not looking forward to spring and summer because I'm a Celt. Yep, I like the cold. Not looking forward to the summer season, but there's not much you can do about it. So while everyone's still got this lovely cool weather that we're having, I'm going to vibe with it. But I can totally understand how you guys would be just wanting to get ready for spooky season and Halloween. So we can kind of lead into that a little bit today. And we're going to be heading to Scotland first because that's where my dad came from. And I'm really hoping I do get a chance to go to Scotland one day. I would absolutely just love to go everywhere. I'd love to go to Glasgow where my dad grew up. I'd love to go to Edinburgh. Love to go to Balmoral. Wow. But we'll see. But anyway, let's do a little virtual visit of some eerie and scary tales from Scotland. So when you visit Scotland, it is said you may not even need to leave your hotel to witness ghosts. And it has been said also that Scotland is one of the most haunted countries in the world, and I think the same has also been said for Ireland, because you have to remember these countries are extremely old and have a lot of history. So you may not have to leave your hotel to witness a ghost. In fact, if you're staying in a place called the Dalhousie Castle Hotel and Aqueous Spa, you might have an old-timely ghost hanging out in your room with you. The ghost that is rumoured to haunt this place is Lady Catherine, a 16-year-old noblewoman who was banished in a castle tower in 1695 after being caught red-handed in a little romantic tryst with a stable boy. And oh my goodness, how romantic! The parents probably had something planned for her, but there's Lady Catherine's in love with the stable boy. I think that is so cute. But her parents did not think the same thing. They didn't think it was cute at all. Poor lovelorn Catherine died in the tower after being housed there by her parents after she was caught with the stable boy. It is said that Catherine's spirit has never left the castle, even up to when it was converted to the hotel in 1972. Lady Catherine's ghost leads a very active afterlife, which has led to multiple sightings of Lady Catherine over the years. The hotel is a popular wedding site, and the spectre of Catherine has been known to attend the festivities. And I mean, she's probably still a 16-year-old girl at heart, because that's the age she was when she passed, apparently. And who doesn't love a wedding? Like, children of any age I know love a wedding. Most females in general love a wedding. I know a lot of males do too, but let's be honest, it really is a girly day, a wedding. So I can understand why Catherine would love to still be around for weddings. And poor Catherine didn't get the wedding of her own. Catherine has been seen walking the castle's turrets and corridors, and even appears in some people's rooms. Sometimes she will even wave at you from the windows. Other times, if you're really lucky, you might find her sitting on your bed for a little company and conversation. According to eyewitnesses, her grey dress and sharp features and tiny feet could make you believe that she's perfectly alive. That is, until she walks right through a locked door or right through the wall. So here is an interesting little anecdote that I came across while I was researching. In 2007, an American writer named Kate Bullock visited the castle to learn about Lady Catherine, who at this point had picked up the popular ghost moniker, the Grey Lady. Although the writer was unsuccessful, she discovered that Catherine does not like the sound of bagpipes. And whenever the castle steward tries to play his instrument when Catherine's around, she won't let him. He's unable to play. If you ever have a chance to go to the castle, please say hello to Lady Catherine. We are now visiting another castle that is also said to be full of ghosts. And the ghosts that belong to this castle are of Stirling Castle. Stirling Castle is home to two well-known ghosts. The more striking of them is known as the Pink Lady. She is a very pretty woman who got her nickname from the luxuriously beautiful pink dress that she is seen to be wearing. She is rumoured to be none other than Mary, Queen of Scots, who was crowned in the castle. According to another legend, she may be the wife of a soldier who fell when Edward I and his troops besieged Stirling Castle in the early 14th century. She is doomed to search for her fallen husband for all of eternity. The Pink Lady spends her time wandering around the castle and its surrounding areas. So the Pink Lady, she sounds like a very beautiful ghost if you are lucky enough to see her. However, she does come with a friend, and the second ghost is known as the Green Lady or the Grey Lady, quite similar to Lady Catherine, depending on who's telling the story. So a popular story goes that this lady is the spirit of a servant girl who actually saved the young Queen Mary from a fire and possibly dying herself while doing so. Whenever she appears, a major disaster is sure to follow. So she's probably a little ominous, maybe in the same vein as a lot of people believe of the Mothman of Point Pleasant. We all know who the Mothman is. He usually shows up. And I don't think the Mothman's actually a bad guy. I think he tries to warn people because he shows up just before a disaster. And this is what the Green or the Grey Lady of Stirling Castle does. So although a lot of people find this a little bit ominous, the lady is actually trying to warn people of the danger, and she is attempting to save them like she saved her queen so many years ago. Still, they do say, don't think that the ghosts of Stirling Castle are all friendly. There are rumours of a third and more mysterious spectre. It manifests as unseen footsteps in the area known as the Governor's Block. It is said that a 19th century sentry, like a soldier or a guard, died here in the middle of his patrol, his face twisted in terror. Is the poor guard the ghost making the footsteps? Or did he see whatever horrifying spectral creature was making them die of fright? That's the beauty of ghost stories. You can choose to believe whichever you find the scariest version. I, however, would like to believe in Mary Queen of Scots being the Pink Lady and the Green Lady being a friendly and benevolent spectre who tries to help and warn people. Maybe she tries to warn people of these maybe not so nice ghosts. So my money's on it. If I ever get to go to Stirling Castle, I'm going to be following the green or the pink lady and staying right away from those creepy footsteps. The next bunch of spirits on our list, number 8, are not so nice. They are the hostile spirits of the Blair Street vaults. So you might have heard about Edinburgh's old vaults before, but some of the spirits that reside there are even scarier than the legends of murderous grave robbers Burke and Hare. And how the story goes is they stored their victims in the vaults. These underground chambers are locally known as the Blair Street Vaults and thought to be the home of several very nasty ghosts. Now, these spirits will not necessarily show themselves to you or manifest, but their faces sometimes show up in photographs, and their presence is felt in a number of other ways. So, if you're at the Blair Street Vaults, the most harmless ghost is Jack. He is a joker who likes to tug at people's pants and throw stones across the chambers, causing nasty echoes. Another one is known as Mr. Boots, and he is the source of the mysterious heavy footsteps that some say can be heard in the empty vaults. However, Jack and Mr. Boots are both small potatoes compared to, now this is creepy, this dude is called the Watcher, and he is a truly frightening entity. According to Nicola Wright, who has worked as a tour guide in and around the vaults for over a decade, the Watcher is always lurking in the tunnels. Psychics have reported feelings of dread in his presence. Now, he's usually content just watching the visitors go by, kicking back, but sometimes he starts pushing people and pulling their hair. The Watcher is at his strongest in an area called the White Room, where even veteran vault dweller Nicola refuses to go. Nicola says that the Watcher tries to stop people from entering by shouting at them and pushing them. People who have stepped into the White Room anyway have returned with bruises, scratches, and torn clothes and experiencing a feeling of extreme nauseousness. So maybe if you're going to go to the Blair Street Vaults, I'd stay out of the White Room. Number 7 on our hit parade today is the White Hart Inn in Edinburgh. So if you're feeling playful, you might say there's no better place for a Scottish spirit than a pub. Maybe that's why so many Scottish pubs have ghosts of their own. One of the most famous haunted public houses is the White Hart Inn. With its cellars that date back to 1516, it is possibly one of the oldest pubs in Edinburgh. Now I really want to go to Edinburgh because I want to go to this pub and have some pub grub and see what pops out of the walls. It's also said to be one of the most haunted. Yeah, I definitely want to go there now. According to legend, the White Hart Inn has seen many murders and tragedies over the very many centuries that it has stood there. So over the centuries, the place has accumulated so much spectral energy that many visitors have reported invisible hands pulling at their hair or throwing things at them. The ghosts aren't fans of modern technology either. Can kind of relate to that. As we all know, there's constant problems with modern tech, as they occasionally pull cables. In 2013, a tourist couple supposedly managed to photograph one of the White Hart Inn's ghosts. Although the bar manager doesn't believe in the hauntings himself, even he admitted that the picture was extremely hard to explain. If I can find a copy of the picture, I'll pop it in here. He also admits that many members of the staff had had very odd encounters, and their cleaner has actually threatened to quit if he encounters any more unexplained phenomena. In 2014, Scottish Ghost Adventures set up some equipment in the oldest part of the White Hart Inn. They managed to capture mysterious voices saying, "Help me," and "Connor." Is a trip to the White Hart Inn in your future? I think it's definitely in mine. Number 6, the ghosts of Glencoe. So the massacre of Glencoe in 1692 was a brutal attack where soldiers loyal to the English crown visited the MacDonald clan and initially befriended their hosts. But suddenly they received an order from the crown to unalive the entire clan. The formerly pleasant soldiers ambushed the sleeping MacDonalds during a blizzard. Thus killing 38 of them. Many more died of exposure as they desperately fled for the hills. Some say the ghosts of the wronged MacDonald's clan never went away. People who live in the stunningly beautiful Glencoe area generally agree that the spirits of the victims are still lingering, unable to move on because of their unexpected and violent demise. Winter is said to be the best time to glimpse spectral MacDonalds, particularly near the massacre's anniversary of February 13. Here we go again with the number 13, sometimes thought of as an unlucky number. Some have reported ghostly figures crouching in the hills, still desperately trying to hide from the soldiers. Others say that they've heard the screams and the wailing of the MacDonalds being killed all over again. That is something I don't think I'd like to experience because that would be very traumatic to hear, I think. And the poor MacDonalds, I really do feel for this family. Others still claim that they've actually seen the massacre reenacted in ghostly form. Still, the Clan MacDonald ghosts are just the tip of the supernatural iceberg in Glencoe. The place is also said to be haunted by MacDonald's. I'm not sure how to pronounce this word. The place is also said to be haunted by the MacDonald's Caoanag, an invisible banshee-like entity that warns of danger with its blood-curdling cries. Legend has that the Caoanags... Oh, gosh. How do you say that? Caoanags. Chowanay? I think Chowanay, maybe? I'm going to ask Google. I don't know how to pronounce this. No. I tried to ask Google how to pronounce it and it's just said Caribbean. Oh, maybe it's Caoanag. Maybe that's it. Okay, we're just going to say that. If there's anybody from Scotland watching this, please don't crucify me. My dad never told me about this thing. I've never heard of it before. I've been trying to pronounce it all morning. So, just so we know. I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just doing my best. Okay. Legend has it that the Caoanag screams warned the MacDonalds of the impending doom, which is how so many of them were able to escape the soldiers' swords. According to some, she can be heard wailing near a waterfall on the night before the anniversary of the massacre. I don't think I'd kind of like to hear that, actually. Just to see if it's real. It'd be pretty scary, though. 5. The Plague Phantoms of Mary King's Close. And this is also in Edinburgh. Wherever people die in large numbers, you're bound to find a ghost story or two. Mary King's Close in Edinburgh is no exception. The partially walled-up, claustrophobic alley area below the city chambers used to be a place where the city's poor lived, and when the bubonic plague arrived in the 17th century, consequently died. As the city grew, the upper levels of the close were eventually demolished, leaving only the creepy, narrow basement levels that you can still visit today. That's going to be a no from me because I'm hella claustrophobic. Right, as the next bit explains, as a frightening claustrophobic place where people died en masse, the close has long enjoyed a reputation as a haunted site that is haunted by plague victims. The most famous ghost here is a young girl known only as Annie. In 1992, Annie thoroughly scared a Japanese psychic taking a guided tour. The visitor had been unimpressed by the place until she stepped into a particular room. She was immediately overwhelmed by feelings of cold, hunger and sickness, and when she tried to stumble away from the room, a small ghostly hand tried to grab her leg. In all fairness, it It must be mentioned that the history of the Mary King's Close is not quite as ruthless as its marketing people would have you believe, though there are many stories that the plague-stricken poor tenants were walled up in their buildings and left to die. The plague carriers were actually moved to a quarantine zone outside the city walls, and the dead were properly disposed of by the gravediggers. However, it's still a fairly tragic fate that befell these poor people. So it's nice to just keep them in your thoughts. We're at number 4 now with the Piper of Kinnaird Head Lighthouse. And the Kinnaird Head Lighthouses are isolated and scary places. Scottish castles are famously haunted. When you combine the two, you get Kinnaird Head. This beautiful lighthouse has been serving Scotland since 1787 and was built on the remaining structure of a 15th century castle. Naturally, this means that Kinnaird Head has its very own ghost story. It is said that the lord of the Kinnaird Head of Kinnaird Castle, Sir Alexander Fraser, was very protective of his beautiful daughter Isabel. One day, when Sir Alexander was away on business, Scotch lasses, my goodness, seemed to be like a fairly high-spirited bunch. Isabel took in a young piper who was seeking shelter from a snowstorm. The two fell in love, but when her daddy found out, Sir Alexander, he was not happy. Her fate was similar to that of Lady Catherine. He was so furious that he locked his daughter in the castle tower. He then dragged the piper to a cave below the castle and chained him up. Unfortunately, a storm broke out and drowned the unfortunate piper. The next day, Sir Alexander took his daughter to the cave so that he could make sure no hopes of marriage would linger between the two young lovers. However, when they found the piper dead, the heartbroken Isabel ran to her tower and jumped. This is actually a really sad story. Today, the cave is known as the Piper's Cave. Oh, I'm feeling sad about this. My God, I feel like I want to cry. Legend has it that the young man's ghost can be heard playing for Isabel, whose spirit haunts the area whenever a storm is gathering. Oh, that's so sad, my goodness. I think I'd like to visit Isabel and the Piper, just to put some flowers for them. 3. The Handless Woman of Rate Castle. Rate Castle is a large 13th century hall house that was equipped with the castle towers during the 16th and 17th centuries. Although only its ruins remain to this day, its many strange architectural features make it an interesting structure still. Its history is as equally fascinating as is its ghost story. Yes, of course there's a ghost. It's a Scottish castle. Go figure. So this involves the Cummings, and they are the most long-term occupants of Rate Castle. And they had been feuding with the Macintoshes over its ownership for centuries. Who doesn't love a good feud? In 1441, the Cummings decided that it was time to stop fighting. So Old Cumming invited Clan Macintosh to the castle for a huge feast as an offer of peace. Even better, Old Cummings' daughter had struck up a relationship with a young Macintosh man. These girls, again. It was just making me think of Merida from Brave. You know, they're just doing what they want. They're, going against the grain. Love it. So, with this partnership and this union starting up with the young pair, it looked like there might finally be a chance for peace between the two enemy clans. Of course, the invitation was actually a clever plot to wine and dine the Macintoshes and murder the entire family while they were unable to fight back. And I thought that might be coming. Unfortunately for the Cummingses, Old Cummings' daughter was worried about the safety of her lover and warned the Macintoshes about the plot. This is why they came to dinner with dirk daggers hidden in their clothing. When the Cummingses started their ambush during the toast for the dead, the Macintoshes pulled their hidden dirks quickly and stabbed their hosts to death instead. This is a very grisly old story. However, Old Cumming escaped the bloodshed and ran to his upper chamber to confront his daughter, who he now realised had warned the Macintoshes. The furious clan chief attacked the young lady with a sword. Oh my gosh, this is a horrible story. This is getting worse. Where he would cut off both of her hands before she could escape by jumping out the window. After the slaughter, it turned out that no one really wanted to own a castle where so much blood had been spilt. Rake Castle was then left to ruin. Its only occupant is said to be the ghost of a young handless woman in a bloody dress. I think I'm going to leave Rake Castle off my list of places I'd like to visit in Scotland. It doesn't seem like it. It'd have very nice energy there. So number 2, we're going to the beautiful city of Inverness. And what a gorgeous name, Inverness. I've always loved it. So Inverness is the administrative centre of the Scottish Highlands, located slightly to the north of Loch Ness. It is also an extremely haunted place. When a famous ghost hunting show toured the United Kingdom, Inverness was the only Scottish venue they visited. Part of this was because it is conveniently near some other sites with ghastly reputations, such as places like the Culloden Fields, which we'll discuss in a moment. However, Inverness has plenty of strange stories of its own. Local paranormal enthusiasts will tell you about the Black Friar, a ghostly monk who is said to haunt the town's BT building. Legend has it that a spectral girl lurks in the mirror in Balnain House, an old merchant building with a very bloody history. Seems to be a running thread in the Scottish history at the moment, doesn't it? There is an obligatory spooky lady ghost wandering the halls of Eden Court Theatre. Hospitals, graveyards, and even the River Ness are said to be brimming with ghosts. There are whispers of Willie the Cars, a local bogeyman. Witches and fairies have also been reported in the area. What makes Inverness even more mysterious than all of these legends is that there is a very little information available about them. Might be a case of talking to some of the locals. Unlike Edinburgh, where haunted properties like Blair Street Vaults and the White Hart Inn are on proud display and ghost tours are readily available, Inverness seems to enjoy keeping its ghosts private. And I can kind of understand that too, because we all like a little bit of privacy. A team called the Highland Paranormal Group has recently started to uncover the city's ghostly mysteries. But even with their local knowledge and contacts, they said they've only started to scratch the surface. So that might even be something we can explore a little bit more here on the channel. The mysteries of Inverness. And we are down to the last site on our little tour around Scotland today. And we're finishing off a tour of Scotland with the military spectres of Culloden. Culloden Moor is located just a few miles from Inverness. It is the site of the last major battle fought on British soil, the Battle of Culloden in 1746. The bloody conflict was between the Scottish Jacobites and the much larger forces of the English Crown, and that was led by the Duke of Cumberland. The marshy battleground didn't favour the Jacobites and their favourite strategy of charging the enemy headlong. The English artillery and cavalry tactics defeated them so badly that the battle effectively ended the traditional Scottish clan culture. That's a little sad for me. I am actually from a Scottish clan, as my dad has told me. I'm from Clan Grant. If anybody was wondering, that's who my clan was. If anybody else out there is Clan Grant, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. And if you're still living in Scotland, any spooky stories that you might have. Actually, anybody, if you're living in Scotland, hit me with your spooky stories and maybe we can do a few videos about those here on the channel. I will drop a email address in the description box below. If anybody's got scary stories from Scotland and Ireland that you'd love to share with me, send them to the email address and I can read them here on the channel in a future video, because I think that would be a lot of fun. So you'd expect a place with such a bloody and dramatic history to have more than its fair share of ghosts. Culloden, of course, does not disappoint. Paranormal investigators have reported mysterious cold spots in places where the Jacobites fell in large numbers. It is said that a Culloden drinking well called St Mary's Well is so haunted that its water is screaming with the voices of the restless dead. And just on that, I can imagine that probably is true, because all the paranormal shows that I've watched, like the legit ones, and my own investigations that I've done, yes, I know we haven't had time for any this year, but we are working on trying to get something going. So stay tuned for that. Fingers crossed we'll be doing another one soon. But what we've kind of discovered during paranormal research and stuff like that is probably easiest explained is, you know how water is a good conductor of electricity? It's also a good conductor of paranormal energy. So I've sort of found if we're investigating near a large body of water, if it starts to rain very heavily, other people, particularly Northern Hemisphere investigators, have said if it's snowing, if there's a lot of snow on the ground, like around a location they're investigating, it seems to amplify the paranormal activity. So if the voices are indeed coming through the well water, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Usually wells are made of stone as well. Stones are known to hold energy. So if there's place memory there, that could be also contributing to the voices that are heard coming from the water in the well. So the anniversary of the slaughter is a particularly active time for the ghosts. I guess they still have their events too. During that time, many people say they've seen mysterious marching Highlanders, strange corpses and bleeding men. Some say they've witnessed the entire battle played out by the restless ghosts of the fallen, as the air fills with screams and sounds of fighting. Perhaps the most haunting Culloden ghost, however, is a single lonely spectre. A tall, lonely, dejected figure walking the moor aimlessly, whispering, "Defeated, defeated, defeated," over and over again. There is another ghost belonging to Inverness known as Ghost House Nanny. In Scotland, ghosts are so widespread they can affect job listings. In 2017, a family posted a job offer on childcare.com looking for an exceptional live-in nanny for their two children aged 5 and 7. The position paid exceptionally well for a nanny gig at around £50,000 a year. However, there was a slight catch. The family lives in the Scottish borderlands in a scenic historical property. The parents are very busy professionals who tend to be away for roughly 4 nights a week. Also, the last 5 nannies all quit because the place is haunted. According to the job posting, the parents were told that the property was haunted when they bought it a decade earlier. They decided, however, to keep an open mind and just to purchase it anyway, and they've never experienced anything paranormal at all. Ghosts just don't like them, because when they're away, the place reportedly goes wild. There have been multiple incidents of mysteriously broken glasses, strange noises, and moving furniture, despite the fact the whole situation seems like a setup for the kind of horror movie that the protagonist is not going to survive. The family's decision to be upfront about the job's challenges has paid off. They received over 3,000 queries from fearless nannies who ultimately found out the person who felt was perfect, and ultimately found the person who they felt was perfect for the job. And now we move across to Ireland, land of the famous Blarney Stone, leprechauns, and the little folk. And we're going to be traversing the spooky locations along the Irish coast. So we're starting with Mysterious Island, the Vanishing Island at Ballycotton. In July of 1878, the residents of the seaside town of Ballycotton, County Cork, witnessed something astounding. They gathered on shore and gazed in wonder at a new island that had suddenly appeared off the coast. They claimed to be able to see various features on the island, such as woodlands, mountains, and valleys. Several fishermen took to their boats to explore the mysterious island, but as they approached the island, it faded into thin air. This strange anomaly has also been reported by several other coastal towns along the west coast of Ireland. Was it a mirage or an illusion? Or could it have been the legendary island of High Brazil, the Promised Land, sought by Brendan the Navigator? This island is said to be hidden from human eyes and only becomes visible for one day every 7 years. Sounds a little bit like a Lost scenario, doesn't it? Number 2 on the hit parade for Beautiful Island is the monster of Glenade Lake. Irish folklore is full of fantastical monsters and legendary beasts, but none are more fearsome than the Dobberchew. This water hound has a penchant for human flesh and is said to be 7 foot long, the size of a crocodile, resembling both a dog and an otter. I think I've seen photos of this dude before, well, at least not photos, but artist renderings. It's agile on water and on land and has a haunting screech. Actually reminds me a little bit of our bunyips that are supposed to haunt the Australian bush here. On the 24th of September in 1722, Granny ni Connolly was washing clothes at the waters of Glenade Lake, County Leitrim. Her husband heard her screams and came rushing to her aid, but it was too late. The Jobberchar had gotten her, and the beast lay there, resting on her bloody body. The man stabbed the beast in its heart. Its piercing shrieks woke another beast sleeping in the water. It came for the man, and he fought a bloody battle and managed to kill the second monster. Grayanne's headstone can be found in Cornwall Cemetery in Glendale and depicts the image of the beast that ended her life. This is really creepy if that thing's actually real, my goodness. Sightings and attacks have been reported throughout the centuries, some as recent as just 2003, when a couple claimed to have spotted one of Omi Island in Connemara in Ireland. I don't know if I want to go to Ireland now. At least I won't be going anywhere near the coastline if that thing's lurking around. I might have a taste for Australian dishes, who knows. Number 3. Now this is true horror, and that was life on board the coffin ships. Few things can be scarier than true horror, and what a hellish nightmare befell those poor unfortunates who dared to flee the country during one of the darkest periods that the history of Ireland faced. From 1845 to 1852, the Great Famine had decimated the country. Throughout Europe, a blight ravaged the potato crop, as you guys might have heard of the potato famine in Ireland before, but nowhere suffered the effects as much as Ireland. A third of the population was dependent on the crop, and they were left with little choice, leave or die of starvation. Now, I was told by my grandmother that her dad, I think it was his father, was a potato farmer that came to Australia. So that could have been during this time. Thinking about the timeline though, I think the family probably would have gone maybe to Britain first and then come out here. So our family was one that did flee the potato famine back in Ireland back in the day. So over 1 million people fled the country hoping for a new life abroad, but not all of them made it. The ships they travelled on became aptly known as the coffin ships. The mortality rates were high, around 30% of passengers never made it. So if that's the case, and our family were fleeing the potato famine, I'm probably lucky to be here. The journey by sea was a hellish nightmare. The conditions were horrendous. Hundreds of desperate people were crammed in the ships with little consideration for their health or their comfort. Death and disease were rampant, and the cruel ship's owners gave scant rations of food and water to the passengers. There was violence over rations, and people lived in filth, and their loved ones and friends were dying around them. So that's a pretty horrendous history to come from, if you were lucky enough to survive and your family didn't. The dead were afforded no luxury and were quickly disposed of over the side of the ships. Number 4 is a ghostly apparition and a captain's best friend. Brave John McNeill Boyd and his men lost their lives in a final heroic act to rescue others. During one of the most severe storms ever recorded on the East Coast, Boyd and his men ventured out into the storm to aid vessels that had gotten into trouble on the rocks off there's another one I can't pronounce. Lager Pier, I'm going to say. Sadly, an enormous wave surged over them and they were lost to the sea. Several days later, Boyd's body washed up on shore and his dog, a Newfoundland hound, was present when the rescue crew recovered his body. Oh, this sounds like one's going to make me cry again. The dog followed his master to his final resting place at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. The faithful companion... This is sad. His faithful companion lay down on his owner's grave and he refused to leave. Eventually, the dog starved to death and died beside his master. The ghost of Boyd's dog has been witnessed many times at the cathedral, sitting at the memorial statue to his captain. Grave for eternity. Oh, that reminds me of this movie I watched as a kid called Friars, Bobby. Ugh. Oh, don't get me started. This was supposed to be a fun video. Why did there have to be a dog in it? Oh, that's so sad. Okay. Number 5 on the list is A Devilish Stranger. The Midnight Visit to Loftus Hall. During a stormy night, a ship docked near shores of Loftus Hall on the Hook Peninsula, County Wexford, which incidentally is where one of my ancestors has come from, is County Wexford. A dashing stranger called to the hall looking for shelter from the storm. Lord Tottenham and his family welcomed him in and he stayed several nights while the storm raged outside. Oh boy, here we go with another story of forbidden love. Lord Tottenham's young daughter Anne began to fall for the dark, handsome stranger. She became close to him and they talked all day and by night played cards by the fire. One night, Lady Anne dropped a card and leaned down to pick it up. Under the table... Oh, wow! I thought I read this before I put it on the video. This is scary as hell. Oh my god. Oh. Holy, I don't want to go to this place like ever. No, County Wexford's out for me now. Sorry, ancestor who came from there, I'm not coming now. This is, oh my goodness, she's hooking up with Lucifer. Under the table, she saw the cloven hoof of the stranger. She screamed and the stranger exposed himself for the devil that he was immediately and disappeared through the roof in a ball of fire. The event left Anne traumatised and she never recovered. Oh my god, the poor girl, I bet she'd never got married either. I certainly freaking wouldn't. I'd be packing my bags and heading for the first convent I could find after that. If you visit Loftus Hall today, you can see the hole left in the roof from the devil's departure. I'm thinking that would kind of be interesting to see, but so I'm going to see if I can find a photo of that and pop it into none of... Andrea from the future here. I tried to put the photos in of Loftus Hall and it cut out an entire segment of the video. The film froze, things went wrong, so there will be no photos of Loftus Hall. I have no explanation for this, but it scared the crap out of me. So, Loftus Hall, this is where we leave it. Sorry, guys. Just have to go there, because damn. So there's only 6 stories on this hit parade, and the final one is number 6, The Cursed Ship, the HMS Wasp. On the morning of September 22nd, 1884, the HMS Wasp was sent on the less than savoury task of ferrying police and bailiffs to the small island of... This is another hard one to say, so if I'm not pronouncing it right, I apologise. Inishtrahul off Donegal to evict 3 poor families. But the ship would never reach its destination and was dashed on the rocks below the Tory lighthouse. The truth of what exactly happened still remains a mystery. Was this just a tragic accident or were darker forces at work? After the wreck, rumours spread that there was a curse laid upon the ship by the islanders using the island's cursing stone, Glock na Malakt, or Glock Thorai. The origins of these stones date back to pagan Neolithic times. The story goes that it was feared the ship was coming to evict Tory Islanders, so the stone was used to place a curse upon the ship. A local priest is said to have been disgusted by these pagan claims of curses. He became enraged and is said to have taken the stones and thrown them over the cliff. And I wonder where the stones have ended up. It's kind of makes you think it's nearly like the Jumanji thing, isn't it? Did a couple of kids come walking along the beach and maybe find them? Because even if they went into the water, maybe some of them washed up. Or maybe somebody's got them and is doing naughty things with them. Who knows? But that is where we end our tour today of a few very eerie and spooky stories from the country of my ancestors and my daddy, Ireland and Scotland. So it's great to be back with you guys again. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get back on track with you, but I've just been crazy busy and crazy scared when my little one wasn't so well. But yeah, everything's starting to taper off and even out again now, so hopefully I can be back here on a weekly basis again with you all. And many thanks once again for sticking with me. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I promise not to disappear again for so long. Oh, life, it happens. But we're back now, so that's great. And it's really nice to be back. I really missed making videos for you guys. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any requests of anything spooky you would like me to cover for you in the future, please pop it in the description box below. And if you can like, share, comment and subscribe, that would help me out immensely. And I would really love that. That would be great. As always, everybody, especially people in my area at the moment, please stay safe with all the road closures and the small amounts of flooding we're having at the moment. And keep Lismore in your prayers because they are experiencing quite a bit of flooding over there. Again, thankfully, it's not as bad as what they had in the past. But just anybody affected by the weather, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Please stay safe. And please stay safe wherever you are in the world, because I like to see you all coming back every week. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you all so much once again, and I'll see you all again very soon. I promise. Bye.